to speak at this special session and present his perspective given the importance of international cooperation in preventing and combating corruption. Corruption across national borders has huge negative impacts on the stability, peace, and economic prospect of millions, particularly in developing countries. Corruption remains one of the most pervasive and daunting challenges facing humanity. It deprives national government of resources needed for sustainable development and facilitate illicit financial flows from developing economies to developed countries, thus weakening state stability to deliver developmental expectations targeted at women and youth. Nigeria, like many other countries, has suffered from the damaging effect of corruption. The country has lost billions of dollars to foreign tax havens, stolen and expatriated by corrupt leaders and their foreign accomplices, including multinational companies. However, since the return of democracy in 1999, Nigeria has prioritized the fight against corruption and established anti-corruption agencies such as the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, and the Code of Conduct Bureau to lead the fight against corruption. Nigeria, under the leadership of His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, has made the fight against corruption one of the cardinal objectives of the administration. Under his leadership, civil society organizations, non-governmental organizations, and whistleblowers are encouraged to join the fight against corruption and contribute their quota in this regard. One instance of such whistleblowing led to the recovery of over $43 million US in 2017. Public corruption is being exposed by the day, and several politically exposed persons have been and are being prosecuted and divested of their illicit assets. We have been engaging with international law enforcement agencies across the world, and some of the collaboration has led to the recovery and repatriation of stolen funds, including the recent return of £4.2 million by the UK government that was stolen from Nigeria by a former governor. Procurement processes in Nigeria have been strengthened, and activities of the gatekeepers are being monitored through the Special Control Unit Against Money Laundering to serve as deterrence to the stealing of the public funds in the country. Policies have been introduced to mitigate revenue leakages, including the development of National Anti-Corruption Strategy, NACS. The NACS is developed with 5 identified cardinal pillars on prevention, public engagement, ethical reorientation, enforcement and sanctions, and recovery and management of stolen assets. The strategy is aimed at providing a national roadmap in the fight against corruption. Nigeria has sustained her commitment to the social reuse of recovered assets, as demonstrated in the funding of major infrastructural projects and other social initiatives consisting of cash transfers to the most vulnerable groups in the country. Nigeria has participated in the first and second review cycles of United Nations Convention Against Corruption, implementing review processes as a reviewing and a reviewed state. It has enacted a mutual legal assistance law in line with the recommendation of the review process. Recently, the Parliament launched the 2021 Legislative Anti-Corruption Agenda, which seeks to provide a clear roadmap for a reform-based legislative intervention to prevent and combat corruption and financial crimes in Nigeria. Some of the bills before the Parliament include the Witness Protection Bill, the Proceeds of Crime Bill, and the Public Interest Disclosure and Complaint Commission Bill. Mr. President, the systemic imbalances and institutional deficiencies in the global tax treaties and structures frame when most developing countries were under foreign rule in many respects continue to occur and give rise to a tax regime that is unsuited of the current era, and thus hindering effective measures at combating tax abuses, especially by multinational corporations. Mr. President, now more than ever, governments at all levels must rise to their responsibility and continue to commit to transparency and accountability in public expenditure. Measures must be introduced to mitigate the continuous flow of illicit funds from least developed to developed countries in the world. State parties must continue to commit to the timely return of illicit assets and ensure implementation of effective anti-money laundering measures by international financial centers. Nigeria further highlights the beneficial use of settlements and non-trial resolutions to ensure the disgorgement of illicit gains from corrupt acts. It calls on jurisdictions negotiating settlements to, in a timely manner, inform affected jurisdictions that a negotiation towards a settlement is taking place and proactively share information on concluded settlements. We are pleased that the UNGA's political declaration reiterates previous resolutions on settlements and urge states to fully cooperate in this regard. Mr. President, Nigeria therefore calls a multifaceted approach in addressing illicit financial flows as recommended by the high-level panel report on international financial accountability, transparency, and integrity for achieving the 2030 agenda. The report provides path to financial integrity for sustainable development, strongly showing how to redirect the resources lost from illicit flows to finance implementation of the 2030 agenda and the achievement of the SDGs. Nigeria further calls for the simplification of evidentiary requirements and other mutual legal assistance procedures to seize, confiscate, repatriate proceeds of corruption as appropriate to enhance international cooperation for timely recovery of returned assets. Mr. President, in concluding, let me reiterate that the fight against illicit financial flows is urgent and important in our collective efforts to address corruption. We remain committed to our efforts to track, investigate, prosecute corrupt individuals and entities and repatriate such funds and assets to their countries of origin. Nigeria looks forward to the full implementation of all the commitments expressed in the political declaration, particularly on asset recovery and return, to support the development, financing, as well as implementation of the Agenda 2030 for sustainable development. I thank you for your